to a few of my patrons, I have 3 albums to look at that came out in the past 12 months, all in the metal world. It's a heavy version of How Did I Miss This? Let's not waste time getting into these. The first album to listen to is Idol from Philadelphia's Horrendous. This Philadelphia group, formed back in 2009, have been one of the unsung death metal bands that really should have more of a public following and name value in the metal world. And as time has gone on, Horrendous keeps stepping up their game in their album quality and creativity. Idol, the band's 4th album, continues that trend. And a quick description, Idol sets a dark thematic and at times sounds a bit chaotic, but after you start listening for a few seconds and you get past the madness, you can tell it's very focused, and it excels at creating that dark atmosphere. You get a unique bass line opening with Prescience, and they're thrown into the pit with Soothsayer and the Idolater. The guitar riffs here are creative, and with each song over 5 minutes, there's a lot to take in. Damian Herring sounds vicious and almost possessed in his delivery, and from the bass and Alex Kulik, it has some great speed and line changes that add to the song's flow. It's engaging but never to the point of overwhelming. When you least expect it, you get some great guitar shredding also. Soothsayer and the Idolater, where you can hear how Horrendous set a mood. It's dark, it's dirty and aggressive. That atmosphere from the music is created in some highly executed production. Everything sounds clear and leveled out to highlight the right sequences and instruments in the correct time. I get the argument about how some music should sound raw and natural, but sometimes you can't get that clear of a recording in studio. When you have music that is loud and ferocious, the mixing makes a world of difference, and Horrendous really made things work in production to come out clear. It's what takes Idol from good to great. Just when you think this album is about to get too wild and chaotic, you get the gorgeous sequences in Devotion, Blood for Ink, and the amazing Threnody. Horrendous have stepped up their game in terms of creativity, setting a mood, and making sure things sound precise and tight in production. There is a lot going on here in this album, and a majority of it is excellent. Overall, Idol is a death metal album with much more involved than you can imagine. It's as every bit focused and impressive as it is intense. If you're ready to jump on the bandwagon for an unsung metal band, Horrendous might just be worth chasing up to, as this album has a lot to offer. The second album to look at is How Fleeting, How Fragile, the debut album from Germany's Time the Valuator. The patron that requested this album said the Time the Valuator, which is a very Marvel-esque name, sounds a bit like Hands Like Houses, but more on the prog and gent side. The prog side of it definitely comes through, and I hear shades of Periphery through a lot of the music. There are many similar bands that people will make comparisons to, like Periphery and Hands Like Houses, when you hear the vocals of Phil Bayer, but you're in good company when you're compared to those names. At roughly an hour of music across 12 tracks, the genre types blend past prog though, including metalcore and even some of that pop metal style that many of the hard rock bros get furious about now. It starts out with a decent opener in Terminus, and then goes into arguably my favorite song on the album, In Control. There are several good segments within songs like In Control, Fugitive, and Heritage. Different speeds and volumes are used while incorporating different instruments and portions. It isn't one gradual build-up, but rather songs that flow from one style to another, much as prog is known to do. The talent is there, and you can tell that this was a planned-out album that meant to offer a lot in listening experience. Not everything stands out as an amazing spectacle, as some segments drag on a bit and take you out of the moment, but it's not long before you're given something more engaging. There is good guitar work, the percussion and rhythm moves well, and the vocals are great. And that leads to the unfortunate part of this discussion, as just a few months ago, singer Phil Bayer left the band for personal reasons only a couple months after the album was released. That sucks, because his voice was really the extra oomph in the album for that band. It's what made How Fleeting, How Fragile good. The musical talent in this album proves that Time the Valuator, which is a very hard name to say, have the tools to continue going forward and make good music. The singer departing early hurts, but if they can push on and find someone to replace Phil Bayer, then they'll continue to have a following, and I'm sure they can progress in the music world. Overall, How Fleeting, How Fragile is a hybrid of prog, jazz, and melody all fused into a solid album from a young band. The album has some gorgeous instrumental work and is bound to catch you off guard at moments. Here's hoping these guys can rebound and continue forward to make more music in the future. The final album to talk about today is Downfall of Mankind, the third album from Brazil's Nervosa. Brazil rarely gets credit for its rock and metal fanbase, as well as the bands that nation has produced. Nervosa is a three-piece all-women thrash band, and after roughly 30 seconds of listening, you will understand that these ladies are not to be taken lightly. Sweet mercy, they can make even the most hardened of metal bands wide-eyed. Going in with minimal listening experience to Nervosa, I have to say that this is gritty and heavy. The music is solid, paired with some seriously screeching vocals. It's unique, and at times intimidating. After the opening intro track, you are smacked in the face with a lot of volume. Never Forget, Never Repeat, Bleeding, and Horror Dome, which sounds like a crazy 80s action B-movie title, are great headbanging tracks. There is no subtlety here, as everything about the downfall of mankind is screamed about. Humanity is terrible, and everyone is awful. That being said, it's the heavy groove and riffs that sell the album. There is speed and intensity that does not let up. Vultures has a great rolling bass line in it, and after the historical quotes and Raise Your Fist, you get a good anthem-style song with heavy drums. This album does not let up and refuses to let you catch your breath. It's not a front-to-back listening experience for that reason. Sometimes you need a break, and there are a few songs that are a bit similar to each other. With that much volume and riffs for days, it'll be a bit overwhelming after a while. There are also tracks like No Mercy and Enslaved, which just stretch out the runtime, as Downfall of Mankind stands at 13 tracks. The lyric writing can get also a bit predictable and repetitive after a while with the themes in the album. There are many more highlights, though, than the detractors, and it's hard to really translate this through review just how ferocious these ladies are. It works here, and it's believable. This album is a beast to be presented with when you're introduced to a band. However, Nervosa proved that they have the talent and passion to make it work. Overall, Downfall of Mankind is a solid album that will get your heart rate moving and give you a sore neck from headbanging. It might get to sensory overload at some points, but if you can't get enough thrash in your life and have never heard of Nervosa before, then give these ladies a chance. And wear a helmet because they are going to rough you up. I was given 3 bands and albums to check out that I probably never would have touched if not for my patrons and this series, How Did I Miss This? Over 12 months, there's so much that I miss because I just don't have time. So I'm grateful they were pointed out to me by my patrons. If you have albums that you want me to check out and you want to support Rocked on Patreon, keeping this channel going, you can find out more information on the YouTube card over here. I'm really glad my patrons also suggest albums that aren't wretched. That's a nice bonus. Big thanks again to all my patrons who have helped keep Rocked going. Again, the links to help support Rocked and get perks for it are in the description below and in the YouTube card. Please subscribe as it helps to get noticed on YouTube's search pages, and you'll know when I post this month's album reviews and the upcoming Regretting the Past. You can check out my concert photography on Instagram, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook and Twitter.